Schauspiel. Es ist alles Schauspiel. Das Leben ist nichts anderes im tiefsten Innern als Schauspiel. What is the meaning of life? Do you know? The church teaches that. What is the meaning of life, eh? Why did God make me? God made me to know Him, to love Him, and to serve Him in this world, and then to be happy with Him forever in the next. Do you know what it's like to be empty inside? I'm not talking about an empty tummy. Of course you may know what that's like. I'm talking about not having any real emotions at all. Being unable to empathize with others. When you hear about someone being hit by a car and killed, and you pretend you know you feel nothing inside. Not joy, not sadness, not relief, not excitement. You feel nothing. But you wish not to hurt the other's feelings, the one who's telling you this news, who is in all likelihood a relate, excuse me, of the departed. So here's what I do. Let's say we're having a conversation, and of course, being unable to feel anything, really, I have to put on an act, always, my entire conscious life. Unless I'm alone, then I can be myself. By the way, I'm making these videos for me. The fact that others can see them is for me a matter of supreme indifference. What described the emptiness? I don't even know that words. I'm not articulate at all. I'm not fluent or eloquent. Unless I have a script, but then that's not really the definition of these terms, is it? I'm getting those I've got those droopy eyelids that, see those old photographs of Bismarck, those droopy eyelids. Well, he needed an eye job, didn't he? But too many people these days, when they get an eye job to remove those bags, they tend to look too much in the opposite direction, like gaunt concentration camp victims or AIDS victims, etc. What was I talking about? Let me use, for example, love, romantic love. I'm always conscious of my nose is not symmetrical, although it's never been broken. I've always wondered why it's so. I could never be a model because of my unsymmetrical face. I was actually a handsome young man before I started putting on weight. I went from attractive young man to a gargoyle within a period of a few decades. Do you know why? Oh, I'll stick to the topic. Describe someone who cannot feel romantic love, who has never felt it. Well, I have never felt romantic love. Falling in love. I have never felt that. Oh, I know what lust is. I know what the pleasures of the flesh are. But loving someone, wanting to spend your whole life with this person, to me it sounds like a prison, a nightmare. You're either free or you're not. One is either free, one is either free or he is not. It's like everything else. There's pluses and there's minuses. On the one hand, when you have a lover, you wake up in the middle of the night and you have told the kids to get out of the room. And pause this right now because I'm about to say something that's very, very controversial. You ready? Here goes. And you didn't see my lips move. Read God's Word, the Holy Bible, daily. Thought I was going to say something else, didn't you? Number one, the major religions had got it all wrong. Life is nothing but a bitter joke. For most, for some it's a joke. Perhaps not bitter all the time. When you see life with unfiltered lens, not through rose-colored glasses, you see beautiful animals, like cats tearing apart mice and rats, killing them and gobbling them up. Is this a creation of an infinitely loving, infinitely good, infinitely kind, all-powerful deity? There's just too many contradictions in the Christian religion and in the Judaism from whence it sprang. Perhaps anything that would limit the human mind or spirit, that would bridle the personality, should be avoided, like the plague, should be avoided like Ebola. Why did Obama bring Ebola into the United States of America? Does he want the disease to spread? It's very curious. If people have Ebola in Africa, you treat them in Africa. You don't bring them to a country where the plague is not. Of course it's going to spread. We're living in interesting times, people. Good luck. 7:59 a.m. Wednesday, October the 8th, 2014, Greater Vancouver, Canada. life is meaningless. What's the answer? There's no question. Alles ist umsonst. Alles ist vergebens. Es gibt keine Antwort, weil die Frage fällt. Es fällt sich die Frage. Oh, the loneliness of the genius. Surely I could busy myself in busyness, distract myself in the affairs of other people, listening to the nonsense, going into the workplace, putting up with the absolute drudgery, the torture of being around stupid people, the torment of being around the dumb, the annoyance of being around intelligent people who are proudly ignorant and refuse to learn anything that they cannot directly transfer or convert into a benefit for themselves. That is why I prefer the company of no one. I prefer to go into the woods for days, weeks, and months at a time. The only reason I'm not there now is my fear of bears, my fear of being attacked, gobbled up and devoured. And basically what you see now ending up, in effect, as bear feces. Somehow, to me, that would offend the dignity of man. Even this smile is fake. What I feel inside right now is nothing. I've been single my whole life. The thought of putting up with a nagging, primming, schminking, prinkende nag. I may be a masochist, but I'm not that masochistic. And for you men who are married, you have my sympathies. Oh, the one joy of being married, I suppose, is the children. Do I know loneliness? No, being alone is not the same thing as being lonely. When I spend 8 hours in the woods alone, and I have to leave to tend to some ridiculous task, I say, only 8 hours? Many people, if not most, if they were paid a sufficient amount of money that they were willing to spend 8 hours alone in a tent, far away from human beings, not knowing how far away they are, not hearing any of the sounds of humanity, save perhaps for the sound of an overflying flying machine. And the computer just went sort of. Maybe Homeland Security's switched off monitoring me. They realize everything I'm saying is just an act, and not necessarily the way I truly feel. Would you like another act? Oh, getting back to romantic love, no, I seriously never known it. I would like to feel the feeling, but I don't like the affront to my dignity of always, oh, I can't get her out of my mind. I'm thinking about her morning, noon, and night. Oh, everything she says is marvelous, and she smells terrific, and she looks like best thing since sliced bread. I'm sorry, I've never thought that way. Again, I've had sex many times. I know what lust is. I know what an orgasm is. And I've had thousands of the most intense, most pleasurable orgasms over the years. But I repeat, I do not know romantic love. I'm not an expert. Indeed, I'm semi-literate. I know how to read, but many people call illiteracy when one does not read, does not know fiction. I do not read fiction. I haven't read fiction since high school. It's a total waste of time. Why should I? Do you like to listen to verbal diarrhea when someone just goes on and on talking about something you're supremely uninterested in? No? Well, just because that verbal diarrhea is put into print in the form of a book, why suddenly should I read it? F. Scott Fitzgerald, Papa Hemingway, aside from which I've always despised the man for committing suicide, and for fighting for the communists in the Spanish Civil War. There's one thing about me, I've been a lifelong anti-communist. Whenever a man says that he's against private property ownership, I want to reach for my revolver, if I had one. Know thyself. Do I know myself now? Well, I know myself better than I did when I was a young man. And life seems to get better as one grows older, which is ironic because the physical plant is deteriorating. As I say, I once was an attractive young man, and now I'm a gargoyle. Hey, everybody. I'm just one stroke away from being a high-functioning imbecile. Everybody's a winner. Who are my heroes? Well, that's easy. As it has always been my firm decision never to show my family in my videos, and never to even talk about them, I shan't mention my heroes. As far as other people go, there's a lot of self-help stuff in the Bible, particularly in Proverbs. I think there's one, make your foot rare at the house of your fellow man, that he does not grow to despise and actually hate you. Well, there's a cheerful thought. Questions from readers, questions from viewers, if I had any. And as I say, I make my videos for me. I couldn't care less whether anyone else watches them. Why do I dress the way I do? Number one. And number two, being an obese man, why don't I take off weight? I'm glad you asked me that question. Why do I dress the way I do? Number one, I dress for comfort. And number two, for the law. In other words, I dress in such a manner that I won't be arrested. And number two, I wish to be as comfortable as possible. Now, there are other outfits that are even more comfortable than loose sweatpants. For example, a monk's robe looks rather like a house coat, only it doesn't open up except from the bottom with a hoodie. Yeah, a brown house coat with a robe that's been sewn up at the seamlessly. But I can't get one. I guess I'm going to have to. I went to the local monastery and asked them if I could buy one. I offered them $300 to make me one. They said no. I told them I would be wearing it in public. And they said, no, you might be mistaken for one of our friars. So I suppose I could pay some seamstress to make me one, or I could make it myself. I do wear my house coat quite a bit, though. I even wear it in public sometimes just to get a rise out of people, a reaction. There's a taboo we have in our society. In the West, one of them is talking about suicide. If we live in a free society, should we not be free to determine the time, place, and manner of our deaths? Should we not have legal access to chemicals of our choice which will provide us with a painless death, such as pentobarbital? Sometimes there's only one thing keeping a man from killing himself, and that is to avoid the glee and joy of his enemies. Oh, he who once said the best revenge is living well was onto something, but that's not true in all cases. The best quote-unquote revenge is no revenge at all. The best frame of mind is to be utterly unconcerned with whatever a man who others would fancy your enemy thinks or says or does. What could I share with you? Oh, so my dressing, I dress for comfort mostly, and sometimes I dress for effect to create a certain impression. For example, like when I'm applying for a job, I like to put on a white shirt and a tie and a suit and all that stuff, which you will never see in a video, if I can help it, me in a suit, because I feel like a phony when I'm in a suit. People say, why do you wear camouflage? And why do you have a beard? You're trying to make up for a doubtful masculinity? Well, actually, there's a very practical reason for why I wear camouflage, and that's because I may have camped in a park in which it is illegal to stay in a tent overnight in. And when one wishes to escape the notice of other human beings in the woods, it may be a good idea to wear camouflage. Okay, folks, I'm getting tired, and we're getting up to 30 minutes for this whole video. So I'll answer the question about obesity very quickly. I think I've talked about this before in one of my many videos. Obesity, being fat, is a handicap, a real handicap. But unlike he who is stuck in a wheelchair, paralyzed from the waist down, obesity is a handicap that is 100% fixable, curable. It's called diet, people. It's called a reasonable diet, a regimen of exercise, and a diet of nutritious, healthful food, and limiting calories. No junk food, no, I don't want to name no brand names, no colas, no sugary soft drinks, no cream puffs, no cake, no pie, no carbohydrates, except for, fruits and vegetables. And what about meat? According to the Atkins diet, you can eat all the meat you want because you'll get sick of it. You'll have your sufficiency of it before you eat so much that you actually get fat off of it. So why haven't I lost weight? That's a good question. I love my cola, number one. Number two, I love my cream puffs. Oh, I love vegetables, but I love junk food too. So let's just say that I'm insufficiently motivated to lose weight. Okay, that's it, folks. Do as you please.